show things a little bit differently and go a little deeper into um, weight painting and emissions. So if you did not see the previous wearable tutorial, you can find that on my Twitter on this post here. You could also find it on the Decentraland Twitter and on the Decentraland YouTube channel. It's the latest video on their YouTube channel, which is at Decentraland_Foundation. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen the first one. I'm going to basically refer to the first one here and there briefly. Um, Next up, as I said in the first one, I'm going to go through this part quickly. At docs.decentraland.org, you click on for creators, for content creators, click on wearables on the side panel, click on creating wearables, and this is where you can get the reference model for the male and female avatars that you want to use to create your wearables. You click on that, it takes you to the GitHub, and then you would click on base mesh, and then you have DCL avatar shape A and DCL avatar shape B. B is the male, A is the female, and you download those. I already have them, so I'm not going to download it. Last time I showed you how I paint an image texture manually within Blender. This time I'm going to use image references. So in today's wearable, I'm going to create an upper body top inspired by Tron. So I wanted to get some circuit boards, and I could just draw those myself, but I wanted to demonstrate if you're not great at drawing, for example, you can use images, either from AI if you have commercial use, but you could also find CCO and public domain images like this one from Pixabay. Pixabay.com, and you can see free for use under the Pixabay content license. When I click on that, it tells me that I can use the content without having to attribute. I can modify or adapt. I can use the content for free. So there are platforms that allow you to use images without worry, and I highly recommend you pay attention to those things. Don't just steal people's images and use them. It's a bad practice. So for this build, for this wearable, I'm going to use this image and this image, both from Pixabay with the same license. And then I'm taking those two images and I brought them into Photoshop. But if you don't have Photoshop, I highly recommend Affinity Photo. This is a, a photo editing program that you don't have to subscribe to. You can get it for just one-time payment for like $70. It's very good. It's almost as good as Photoshop. Highly recommended. Otherwise, you can use, I know some people like to use Canvas or Canva or whatever. There's some free editing tools out there, but I generally uh, make I make images in Photoshop 1024 by 1024, and then I design them in there to look a specific way. So I took those two images, brought them into Photoshop, created this UV texture. This is the basic skin image, and this is the emission image. And I did a slight demonstration of emission on the first tutorial, but I'm just going to talk about real quickly why these look so different color wise. One is like a very faint gray with the blues and a little white, and then one is black with the blues and the white. So with an emission, whatever's black will not glow, and whatever is white will glow, and then anything in between will glow a little bit less. And like I said, I'm doing a Tron inspired shirt, so I want the circuit boards to glow blue for the user, basically, if you know the characters from Tron. And I'm going with the '80s retro Tron, not the recent one, which is just as cool, but I still have a nostalgic love for original Tron. So I want also this glow to be tinted blue. So instead of making the texture have white circuitry, I make this blue, and then I also made the emission have blue. And this will allow the texture to have a bluish tint instead of just straight white. But this white part also, I want it to be just a bright white. And this is going to be the disc on the back. So I wanted to show image textures, which you'll see as I bring them into Blender. And so again, I'm using Blender. Downloadable from blender.org, I believe. The latest version, I think, is 4.3.2. And when you just open a brand new file, it looks like this. I'll just open it again. Looks just like this. Press A to select all with my mouse in this window. Press X to delete everything. I just want to have it totally clear. Last time I opened the decentral avatar, the Decentraland avatar using the blend file, which is fine. But this time I'm going to do the GLB just to show that there's multiple ways to do it. So I'm going to search for that, and I'm going to do avatar shape B. I'm going to switch this bones here to temperance. I just have a habit of doing that so that I don't get this weird ball that shows up when it's like some random update that they made that I don't know how to fix. So I have a habit of changing this to temperance. Import that. Zoom in a little bit. I'm going to change the viewport to this third one over here. Allows me to see the textures. And we have the mail now. First thing I'm going to do with this new file is go to external data and click automatically pack resources. This will automatically save any new textures I introduce to the body. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm selecting all, pressing A in this window, and then go to edit mode. I didn't change. Hold on. That's because I have the armature selected. Can't select A. Since I'm basically what I did is I selected all, including the bones, and so when you go to edit mode, it's confusing Blender. You want to select like just what you want other than the bone. So if I select all and I click off the bone and go to edit mode, wait, why is it not doing that? Hold on. Well, for whatever reason, it's not letting me select all in edit mode. So I'm just going to work on the upper body anyways. I'm gonna actually hide the things that I don't want to see, and I'm not worried about the feet. So I'm gonna hide that, clicking on the eyes over here. I'm gonna hide the head. Oh, I'll leave the head for now. I'm gonna hide the eyebrows, the eyes, and the mouth. I don't need to see that. I want to see the rest just to make sure that these things are lined up properly for now. But let me slide this back over a little bit. So again, I'm going to select the chest, hit tab, see all the vertices. Um, one thing that may happen when you import a GLB, if I click on a vertex and I press G and I move it around, you'll see that this is like not attached to anything. I want these to be completely attached. So one thing that Blender does when you import a GLB is it separates vertices uh, automatically, which is kind of annoying, especially if I've saved them before as connected. So the next thing I do is select all the vertices in edit mode, and I go to mesh, clean up, and merge by distance. You see down here it says removed 131 vertices. So now if I select that same vertice, it's actually attached. It's not separate from the other faces that are next to it. So now everything is connected. So anything I move will move the face accordingly, which is what I want. So that's very important. Make sure you do that. Make sure you check that before you make any crazy changes. So like I said, I'm working with an upper body wearable. One of the easiest things you can do, people have a tendency to create, let's say a jacket, and they import maybe a jacket that they've downloaded and they put it over the body, and then you have a body and a jacket. One of the things I like to do to simplify it a little bit is to create the jacket shape from the existing base body. So basically, I'm going to do like a very easy shape with this because the Tron suit is actually almost like a skin tight suit. So I'm only going to mess with the shoulders and the wrists for ease. But somehow I clicked a button that just hit everything else. Weird. Option H. That's weird. All right, let me just open this up again. Sometimes there's weird glitches that happen. Do this really quickly. Import GLB again. B temperance. Go through this again. Not sure what happened there. Head. Mask. Upper body. I'm gonna hide the lower body for now. I know that I'm not going to change the waist. Tab A, mesh, merge by distance, cleanup, and merge by distance, and then also double check that pack resources. Okay. So I'm going to click on these vertices in vertices mode, in edit mode, and I'm going to click all of the ones on the side here. And also I'm going to turn on mirroring. So any changes I make here should affect that side. Sometimes it doesn't perfectly, I should say, but I'm going to get it to work to start at least. So I'm just going to press S and I'm going to automatically scale it up. And you see the other side is moving, but one of these vertices is not. So that's what I mean. Sometimes it totally works and sometimes it doesn't. But at least it's getting some of them started for me. And I'm going to actually also make the forearms a bit bigger. Scale that up. And I'm going to select these top three, get my gizmo, slide them out over the hand, maybe up a bit. And let's get this out here. I'm going to double check this side and see all the damage that's done over here, but it's got a lot of it taken care of, which is nice. Try to make it look similar to the other side. Close. Side needs to come out a bit more. And so this is a relatively easy shape that I'm going for here. I'm going to switch to face mode, and I'm going to highlight the top of these shoulders a bit. I want to make sure I'm not going to the edge of the neck, because the vertices attached to the neck, I don't want to change at all. I could, if I want to raise it so it looks like the collar of a sweater, I could do that, but you have to be really careful to make sure there's no gap between. So just to be safe for my needs, I'm just gonna select these faces and just lift it up. And you see the mirror symmetry is working. And you see here the vertices touching the neck are still touching the neck. So there's no change in how I manipulated that. And so right here, to me, this is a cool little basic shape that I'm going to go with for creating this upper body. And at this point, I can start messing with the textures. So, like I said, I created those circuit board textures using Photoshop that I downloaded from Pixabay. You see here, this currently has the avatar skin underscore matte texture, which actually controls the skin tone color that the user selects in Decentraland. If your texture is named this, that will change the color. So if I wanted to make my circuit board change colors, um, and including the white background becoming a skin tone, I would need to make sure that this is called that, but I don't want to use this. So I'm going to make a whole new one. I'm just going to delete that one, make a new one, and I'm just going to call this circuit board top. And then under base color, click on image texture and open. And I'm going to look for the texture that I showed you. The first one was user texture, which was the gray and blue. And we can see it's now become the texture of this item, but this is not what I want it to look like. So dragging up this bar down here, I'm going to click over here and switch to UV editor. I'm going to click this little drop down here and click on user texture. And that shows me the texture that I just added. And up here with my mouse in this window, if I hit tab, I could switch to edit mode, or you can just click on the drop down up here. And you'll see if I select all, these are the meshes that are showing what's on here. And what you'll see is like if I select this side of the body, that's over here. And if I select this side of the body, that's actually in the same place. And so they're like essentially positioned in the same spot of the texture, and they're just overlapping each other, which is kind of like not the greatest practice. You kind of want to keep all the meshes not touching each other, which can be explained further in a little bit more advanced um, texturing. But for in this case, I wanna be able to control everything easily. So I'm gonna select all, and I'm gonna hit UV and unwrap, and I'm gonna go to Smart UV Project, and I'm gonna change the island margin just one step up, 0.01. I'm gonna click unwrap. And now we see the textures have changed, and it looks even different than it did before, right? And we can see the textures are now uh, separated completely, which is good. Now I can click on a single face and it becomes that part of the map. And what's cool, I'm gonna just do this so you can see. Let's select like these 9 faces, 12 or whatever number that is. If you look closely here, and I come down here and I select all by pressing A. If I don't select all, I can't move these, but if I press A and then I press G, I can move this around, and that controls what those meshes are looking at, where they're lined up on the actual texture. So you can change what it looks like. So like I said, in the first tutorial, I hand painted the texture. In this tutorial, I'm using an image and I'm going to control the placement. And I can see there's like seams here that I don't necessarily want. So I'm looking at the already, I'm gonna sort of create my own edges for where I want things to show up. Like that. I'm gonna select everything that I want in here. I want the front to be pretty close. And I already have sort of an idea of what I want things to look like. This is where you get to make your creative decisions. But basically, let's connect this part of the armpit to I think that's pretty good. So down here, let's see what this is. So you can now select this piece and move it around, and that appears to be the side right here, the left side, which if I wanted to attach it, I just hit rotate, and I could try to line it up to where what's over here, at least get it sort of close. So you can see it's sort of lining up a little bit better than it was. And I'm assuming that this side is this side, and yeah, it is. So let's try to line that up. I hit R to rotate and G to move. So I'm just gonna get that kind of close. I'm gonna try not to overlap it though. And you can really get in there and like slide the vertices to connect it perfectly. But I'm not too worried about that because I'm actually gonna do this little thing that I do to add to the aesthetic, but also kind of hide some bad edges. I'm not too worried about it. And then this, let's see, where is this? I have to see what's moving. That's probably the armpits. Yeah. Oops. This side. Yeah, there it is. There's one there, and I guess the other one is on this side. Yeah. So it's these two. So I'm actually gonna deselect those and just let those exist on their own. Or no, because it's like right up against the edge. I'm just gonna slide those. Let's see, this is the back. I think it's gonna be like this way. There's a little bit of like trial and error to figure out exactly where it's supposed to be. But this is not super important right now for this demonstration. I'll just place them nearby. I try to stay in the habit of not overlapping meshes. It's a good practice, especially when you get into baking. It's very important, which we're not going to talk about baking today. Perhaps the next workshop, and I'd love to get Dr. Drip actually involved in a baking workshop because he's a master of it. So maybe if you ask him nicely, he'll do that for us. But so this is the front of my jacket, and now I can sort of choose where I want it to go. And so now I select all of this and I can, based on my design, choose the aesthetic for how this should look. And this looks pretty good, actually. Like, I kind of like how that looks. Look at it here. There's a bit here that's not lined up properly. Let's see. Those four. Yeah, there's a gap here. Why? But I'm not going to worry about that too much because I'm going to conceal that probably later. But that's a good front right there. I'm going to do the back really quickly. Since I've shown you how to do the back or the front, I'm just going to fly through this as fast as I can. See. Okay, so these are offset, which sucks. Oops. These are not connected at all, but I want to connect them. So there's a whole other thing with seams that I think would be good as part of the baking tutorial. Let's connect. See. So I'm holding Command and clicking to select multiples. And I'm trying to find it right here. So we see this one is off the it's off the mesh group. This one down here still. These are all over the place, which is kind of annoying. Let me try actually. Let's see if we can bring these all together. Let me try this. This may or may not work, but let's try it. I'm going to try to unwrap it again. There. Scale that down. No, this is still not a good look. I'm gonna see all these together. I just want to get these kind of lined up better. See where this goes. As you can see, I'm trying to place that white circle in the center. It's like puzzle piecing it together. Get these close. Get this close. Looks like it's around there somewhere. There's going to be a bit of manipulation to do here. So for our purposes today, I'm not going to worry about that because it's so time consuming. But once you sort of figure out the puzzle piece and you place them perfectly, you can get those lined up. There's probably some easy way to line that up perfectly, but I'm not gonna. Let me just get this one in a good spot though. That's the top. These are very skewed too. Scale it up a bit. Scale it down. Get that circle in there. I think what I'm going to do for simplicity is see how these look. These are kind of all over too. All right, that's not bad. Line that up. And let me just get that closer. All right. I'm going to bring these down here. Scale it down a little bit. And so what I said about trying not to overlap other meshes, I'm breaking that rule on this wearable. On the front, you'll see I have these also on the front. So the front overlaps with the back with a similar design, which I'm not worried about because I'm not baking. But if I were baking, this would be a problem. But so for today, I'm showing you how to manipulate the UV map meshes, texture meshes, and getting these things to look the way you want them to look. I'm going to work on the arms real quick, see what these look like. These all over the place too. They seem to be, which is great. So let's just put these up top. And like I said, if I had hours to spend on this while doing this demonstration, I would definitely take my time to line these all up beautifully. But I just want to have that texture on there looking as good as I can make it. There's definitely a little bit of a mess here. Again, I'll show you some basic tricks to hide this if I wanted to. So right here, I'm just looking at what exists there and how can I sort of hide it. Rotate it a little bit. Not too bad. This arm, bottom of the arm I need to do. Get that. Let's get these. These are probably actually not even going to end up having circuit boards on them, but I'm going to line this up in a way that I like. There, it doesn't look too bad. Okay. So this is like a basic circuit board texture on the body now. Let me just make this one a bit nicer. All right, I think vertical looks cooler. Here. No, this looks cooler. Do that. Let's see what the side looks like. That looks good. I know I'm going to hide that a bit, so. But actually, I want to have some texture in there. Let's just drag that on there. All right, so now we have a lot of circuit board texture, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing than when I had first done it. This I know I'm gonna hide. I'll show you in a second. All right, so if I look at here and I click on shader editor, this is also how you can add the image that I just did, user texture. It's similar to this, just another way to do it, but also it gives you almost easier access to see what else is going on. And so at this point, I'm going to add the emission now. Add texture, image texture, plop that down here. And I'm going to open up the emission version that I made, which was the black one. And I'm going to drag that right into the color. See, nothing much changed because what's black doesn't show up as black, but what changes is the emission. Right now, the emission is set to 0. If I change that to 2, you see that it all of a sudden lit up. So if I look at my UV texture, just so you guys can see, I now have 2 textures. There's user texture and emission. Everything else is from the avatar, the skin base, eyebrows, eyes, mouth. So the 2 that I added are emission and user texture. Emission looks like this. User texture looks like this. So now I have an emission. Last time, the day I did the wearable workshop, I mentioned how I wasn't sure what strength is good for client 2.0 because there were changes being made, and literally the moment that I was doing the workshop, an update was pushed for emissions to control the new emissions basically. And so what I find now as of today as a good setting for emission is 0.2. It's not super bright. It's not really noticeable within Blender, but in the game, it's a lot brighter. You could go up to 0.5, but then like all the blue that I have will just be white, and it'll be super, super bright. So to show some sort of color, just a subtle color, 0.1 or 0.2 is a good emission. Okay. Now I want to, like I said, hide some of the creases that I don't like, and it's actually kind of cool because like the Tron wearable has just these bright sections of light, and again, I'm gonna basically cheat a little bit. I want to make a little bit of an opening here, but let's start with the neck. Let's start with the neck. I'm gonna select all this stuff, all of that, and I think it might be kind of cool actually to go right onto the shoulders. I have to create some more edges right here. For example, I'm going to switch to vertice mode, click these 2 dots. I'm going to press J to create a new edge there. Let me double check the other side. Yeah, the other side can use it too. And press J. And now let's just make sure I don't need to do that anywhere else. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna now select all that jazz. And again, I'm holding Command, which is, I believe now, I said Alt in the last one a lot, and apparently it's Control. Thanks to Dr. Drip for correcting me live during that. Appreciate that. But so on PC, on a Mac, you would hit Command and click. On a PC, you would hit Control and click. Okay, so now I have these shoulders all selected. I'm going to drag this up again and go back to my UV editor. And I'm going to use, let's use the emission. So what's cool is I have these two textures and I've designed them so they're basically identical in placement as far as like the circles and circuit boards are concerned. So they're identical, they're just different colors. So what I'm going to do is, it doesn't matter which one I use here because they're the same, but I'm going to select all of what I have selected up here, and I'm going to press S, and I'm going to scale it all down. And I'm going to go, and I'm going to put this really, really tiny, almost like a pixel size, and I'm going to put it right on one of these blue spots, which is actually an emission spot, right? So I'm like literally making it pixel size. What that does is this whole shoulder section is now 1 pixel, 1 color, and it's going to emit just that bluish glow. And so that's how I'm going to cheat some of the ugly edges, basically. And let's see, I want to create. I want to create a gap on the wrist. So I have to add more. See, if I bring it all the way up to the arm, I'm going to go here. That. And let's go all the way. Actually, let's do it right here. These two, I'm going to add a little joint there, one there, and maybe on the bottom. I'll leave that bright. Do the same thing here, connect these two, add an edge. And okay. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the arms, but I want to leave that little edge open that I made. So again, holding Control and clicking. Over here, I don't want it to get this diamond shape that I added. So I'm going to hold Shift and unclick those. And I'm going to hold Shift from here. And I'm just leaving that little diamond area unselected because I want to see the circuit board there. And then I'm going to continue going on through here. Let's see. Get rid of that one. And we'll add these. And these I can make sure the whole thing is selected. Just like that. And I want to get the inside of the hand. I'm going to actually hide the hands for now. Hold Shift, hold Shift here. And select the inside. And then let's get these guys. These. And I'll just do one hand at a time. So again, I'll do the same thing here like I did with the shoulders. Select all, scale down. And I'm just overlapping again because I'm not I'm not baking, so I'm not worried about overlapping. And I'll just put it on the brightest pixel there that I could find. And so we have now a cool little shoulder pad looking dealy going on. And I'll do the same to the other side. One of the advantages of doing this from the base mesh of the avatar is I'm not adding too many polygons, so I don't have to worry too much about the polygon count unless I start adding to it. All right, so that should be pretty good. Again, press A, select all, S to scale down, zoom in there, let's make it even smaller. Try to get it on the same circle, just so the values are similar. Scale it down even more, put it on one of the bright pixels. And so now we have, oh, I missed one. Great. That stinks. I have to undo that before I need to double check that before I scale it down. Here we go. Scale it down again. Right on that pixel. There, much better. All right, so we got that. I also want to add it sides here under the pits. And maybe something on the front chest. I'm gonna go right up here, all the way down. And I'll do both sides at the same time. And so I'm building, it's almost like a uniform sort of looking thing. I kind of want to add like a V-ish shape to the chest. Let's see. Maybe going straight down. I like the circuit boards here though. So I don't want to screw it up too much. Let's go like this. Down here, I want to have like a nice clean edge. So I'm going to click on the edge here instead of the vertice. And I'm going to just click on that edge and then right click it and click subdivide. And that's going to add a vertice for me that I can connect here. So it's kind of a clean, and I'll do the same over here. Keep it sort of, so I got to do this edge here. Subdivide. Create a line for those, line for those. And I like that. Okay, so I think also I'm going to bring this down sharper. This will be where the V is. This is just an aesthetic decision. So I'll select all these. And I'll select all these. Keep this one relatively simple. And then scale this down into that pixel again. There we go. Now, one thing we're missing is the little back disk. So luckily, I already pre-made that. So I'm going to import the disk. Disk. Again, double check that this is set to temperance. Import. And this should already be placed where I want it to go, but no, it's not, because what you don't know is that I already made the female version of this, because like whenever I make a upper body or lower body wearable, I like to have a male and female version. I think it's a great practice. But so this is lined up in the perfect spot for a female version. I'm going to move this a little bit and make it better for the male. And we notice that this has no textures on it. It says nothing on it. So what's cool is I select the disk, click on this drop down over here, which is under the little Earth planet looking icon. And I'm going to do circuit board top. Oh, look at that. And it's like already like perfectly placed, because this is actually the exact same texture that I used for the female. So the, the images are the same, so the placement is exactly the same. And so that's my disk ready to go. But basically I composed the disk in the same way that I showed you just now how I composed the body. The disk is ready to go. Problem is we have, let's click on the bones and go to pose mode. And I'm going to select on this little person here, viewport display in front. This way I could see the bones through the body. I'm going to, let's twist the body. If I pose, the body moves, but the disc doesn't. And that's because it's not weight painted. It's not attached to the armature. It's just a floating mesh. And the body works because I used the base avatar. So the base avatar is already attached to the bones. But since I made some manipulations to the wrists, I need to correct that. And I now need to add the disc to the bones, which is where we start with our weight painting discussion. So for now, let's keep the bones visible. Also, I'm gonna, just for habit's sake, turn on, clicking on this drop down up here, turn on statistics. That'll show me how many polygons I have on this upper body. And then we got this guy that we need to attach. So I'm going to select the disk, and then I'm going to hold shift and select the armature. And I'm going to hit Command P or Control P on PC. And I'm going to do with automatic weights. There's also another way to do it. It doesn't always work, but because I know I'm going to adjust this, you can also hit Command P and do empty groups, which will make it have no paint. It won't move, but it'll be attached to that armature, and then you can manually add the weight painting. But for now, I'm going to do it the simplest, most basic way, which sometimes works straight out the gate. A lot of times it doesn't. And so in this case, using automatic weights, it shouldn't work. But before I did that, let me just show the weight painting. Let's go back enough. Undoing. If I were to click on the jacket and the mesh of the disc, click on weight paint. Oh, come on. I guess I have to just do the. Well, let me show the body. Body weight paint mode. Boom. I learned actually yesterday this crazy annoying glitching look that came with the latest updated Blender. You can get rid of that just by changing the viewport. And so now you can see the colors as you'd like. If I go through here, these are the bones, and if I just move push up on my keypad, I can see the weight painting. Right shoulder, right arm, right forearm, all red, right? What's red is 100% attached to that bone. So this forearm, everything that's red is 100% attached to this forearm bone right here. When I click on right arm, what's red is 100% attached to that part of the arm, the upper arm. What's yellow and green is a lesser percentage. Green is like 50%, and then blue is 0%. Dark blue is 0%. This like sort of middle blue is probably like 10-20%. So you'll notice there's like a nice little fade between the bones. And that's good. That's a good thing to have so that it kind of blends together. And so these joints work together. So you want to make sure that like where the elbow meets, it's good to have it green, 50-50 on the forearm and the right arm where they connect. Now what I've done on the hand here is I've literally pulled the wrist over the top of the hand. And what will happen when you emote basically is the hand of the avatar will start to clip into this piece of fabric that I've added over the hand. So in order to remedy that, I'm going to change this to 50% up here, 0.5. And I'm just going to paint that green. And then going to the hand bone, right hand, I'm going to paint that green in the same spots. One of the things you can do with weight painting, you can click this button here and you see these points. These are basically the vertices. And when you weight paint, you're basically painting the vertice. So like one way to do it, if you are not a super visual person without these dots, is you just find the dot and you click on it like that. Like so, but I don't want it there. I just want it right on the top. I don't want that clipping to happen. I might maybe go 25% on this bottom area, just so there's a little bit of movement. And then I'm going to do the same. Ooh, that shouldn't be. Oh, shoot. This is good. Good that I did this. I still have mirroring on, so everything I painted here, we painted to the opposite side. So I need to turn that off. And then I'm going to put this to 0. And I'm going to delete everything because that's the left hand. That's not the right hand. I don't want to have paint there. So I have to check the forearm too. Get rid of that. Glad I caught that before it was too late. I'm glad I'm able to show that to you as well. So that looks good. So let's go to the left hand. We see here there's nothing there as it should be because that was originally the wrist. And do left forearm, do 50% again, and hit those corners. Make that green. Go left hand and those corners. And 20.25 for just that slight edge there. That's good. So that should be good for the wrist. Just make sure. Nice and green. Okay, so that's good for the jacket. Everything else, weight painting wise, is set on the jacket on the top. Everything is according to the way the default avatar is built. One of the things I wanted to point out is the hips here. One of the common things I see in the community forums in the wearable curation committee is someone makes a jacket and the hips don't line up to the pants. The shirt doesn't attach to the pants, so there's always like a gap that needs to be fixed. It seems to be like such a common thing. And so what you see here, this is kind of how it should be. So the bottom of the hips on the shirt should be red, and then on the legs, lower body, on the up on the flip side, right? Weight paint mode. If we go to hips, the top is red. The top of the hips are red. If this is not red, when the character emotes, it's going to create a gap between the shirt and the pants, which is not good. And then you're not going to get approved. So that's one thing you want to double check, that the hips and the hips are locked in. And the same goes for the neck and everything. But because I used the default avatar like I did, those are set properly, which is great. So let's go back to shirt. I think we're all good with the shirt now, but now we still have this guy. This dude here is not attached to anything, but that's right. I undid the replay, the weight painting to show you that it's blue, and I believe now actually I have to add it again. So selecting the disc, select the armature. I make sure the armature is yellow. The outline of the armature is yellow because I'm putting the disc onto the armature. If it's the other way around where I select armature first and then the disc, and then now the disc is yellow, it won't work properly. So do the mesh first, then the armature. Hit Command P or Control P, and then we're going to do automatic weights. Now, when I look at weight painting around the spine area, it should have some paint. See that? But it looks terrible. Like there's like hardly anything there. It's like all in the wrong spot that I don't want it to be. Now I want to try. I'll just leave it at this because using automatic weights is probably the easiest practice before you start getting control of weight painting. Using empty groups where you have to manually paint it is slightly more advanced, but I think accepting the automatic paint is good, and then you can make corrections to it. So let's make some corrections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the upper body. I could have just clicked here, but I have my own habits, right? And I'm going to select the disc again, go to weight paint, and I'm going to actually, before we do that, I want to learn. I click on the armature and edit mode. I want to see what bone is what, right? So this bone right here is avatar spine 2. This bone is spine 1, and this bone is spine. So I know it's nowhere near spine. I don't need to have any weight painting with that. It's kind of between spine 1 and spine 2. So I have the option of mixing the two, but if let's say I made the top of the disc attached to spine 2 and the bottom attached to spine 1, then as you emote, it's going to kind of bend a little bit. So I have to kind of choose which spine I want, or I can find the right balance between both and test back and forth until I'm happy. But in my opinion, it probably would work great on spine 2. So let's give that a shot. I'm going to go to object mode, select the disk, go to weight paint mode, and I'm on spine here. I don't want any weight painting. So I could either manually delete it like that, or I could hit, I always forget what it is. I think it's Option X. No, Shift X. Oh, Command X. Command X. Okay, so Command X or Control X sets it to what this is set as. But the problem with doing that, since it's attached to the upper body, is the upper body now also loses the weight painting, even though it's hidden. Anything that's on the upper body with the spine, because it's attached to the same armature, loses that weight paint. So you have to actually do this manually if you're going to add an object that already has this. And so I'll just delete it. So I increase the size of my cursor with the bracket button, bracket up and down. It changes the radius you see up here. You can do that manually here. And then I just go in there and I delete. One thing last week, I demonstrated this a little bit last week, and how to add weights easily with the Command X button, or last 3 weeks ago, I guess. It wasn't last week. But Dianku, I want to acknowledge Dianku, pointed out there's easier ways to do that. For the mask, or if, let's say this case, just the disc, and there was no upper body attached to it, like you could literally just delete the other bones. But because this is an upper body, we need the other bones, so I can't do that. But like instead of like erasing everything from the spine and hoping that I got all of it, I could just delete the spine. But we can't do that in this case because we have the upper body attached to it. But thank you, Thianku, for pointing that out. And I think I said spine 2 is what I want. So spine 1, I'm just going to double check. We got all this jazz here. Get rid of that. All that there. Make sure it's blue. And spine 2, now I want it to be all red. So now this disk should be completely attached. Object mode, let's take a look at our textures. Click on the armature and pose mode. And I'm going to twist that bone. And now the disc is attached to the back. And if I change another bone, it should still also rotate perfectly. Bend it forward. Oh, we got some things. We have some issues there. So something else is attached to that bone. So let's take a peek at that and correct it. Hide that again. Weight paint, change the viewport so it doesn't glitch on me. I'm gonna actually double check. There we go, left shoulder. So you check all the bones to make sure it's not attached anywhere else. Because this disc was sort of big, the automatic weight painting decided to attach it to the shoulder. So I'm going to remove that, change that to 0 here. And I'm just going to get rid of those colors. Because it's on the left shoulder, it's most likely on the right shoulder, but I'm going to check every bone just to make sure I don't see anything else. There we go, right shoulder. Hitting it from every possible angle, because sometimes there's like even the slightest, just the slightest hint of a lighter blue will screw that up. Like we got right arm and right forearm on the inside. That's no good. So that's going to be left arm and left forearm too, most likely. And head. Get rid of all that jazz. Check out left arm, left forearm. There we go. Left forearm, left arm. Spine 2 is good. Oh, we got one here. Right upper leg. Let's get left upper leg, I'm sure. There it is. And hips. We don't need that. So that's the problem with automatic weight painting. Sometimes it inserts paint on bones that you don't want. Whereas if you do empty groups, like I said though, it doesn't work all the time. If I click this and selected the avatar and hit Command P and choose empty groups, sometimes it attaches properly with no weight painting, and then you can just go in there and add the weight paint to the bone, the specific bone that you want. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work. So I like to mess with automatic paints and correct some. But if I know that it worked with empty groups, I usually go that way. But it doesn't always work. So those are your two options. Upper body. So now let's test it again. Pose mode. And there we go. Now we got a working, flexible, weight painted disc. And at this point, we are good to go. So I'm going to hide the head. No hands. All I don't want to hide the feet. I don't want to see the feet. Going to show up. And let's import this. Go to object mode. Select the shirt. Select the armature. File. Export. GLB. Let's do on mail. And make sure I have selected objects, because if I don't have selected objects, everything that's hidden will still be included. And we're going to export that. And then we're going to go right to the builder. Builder.decentraland.org. I guess I should have opened collections possibly. Yeah, let's go to collections. And I have this old collection here. You would create collection and then create a collection here where wearables emotes, not linked collections. That's different. But I have one here that I can play with, so I'm going to do that here. And Tron, and I'm going to put the mail open. I'm going to select mail. No, it's not. User. Probably change those better. Let's go exotic. So you see here I have 620 triangles, one material, two textures. I'm going to do upper body. So all these fit under the requirements of what we need. I'm going to click next. What we need for approval, that is. I'm going to click on this and slide over here. And then I'm going to add the female that I made beforehand. Open. Just like that. The female has a little bit more triangles, but we're still, I think upper body requires 1500 maximum. So we fit both requirements. Let's preview this in the editor. So there we have the female version. And then I can switch to the male. And there's our male. And I always like to test an emote, usually the craziest emote, which is the dance emote. Also, it's important to change the hair because I can't see everything. Something short hair. I can see what I've done here. And that's looking pretty good. The hips, as you can see, are attached perfectly. Arms are moving. The hands are not clipping with this part. Let's go test it in world. I don't have to hide anything for this wearable, which is great. I went over this a little bit on the previous tutorial, so I won't do that again. Please refer to the previous tutorial for that. But let's go test it in world. Just about finished here. And as of yesterday, this was working nicely. So we can open, oh my God, every freaking time. Another update. Okay.
It's always the same thing. They released just before the workshop.
Okay. So I remember last time it launched Decentraland, not in the test world. So I'm going to run that again. Probably gonna make me confirm that number again. But what I want to really test out in world is the emissions. Like I did last time, open up the browser and test in the browser, but the emissions are not accurate in the browser compared to 2.0. So here I can jump. One thing I noticed in this part of the of 2.0 test world, I can't change the wearables I'm currently wearing, and I can't change the gender. So the browser is still good to test if you want to see how like the female version of your wearable works. I won't be able to change it. So whatever my avatar is set in normal Decentraland, that's what I'm going to have in the test world. So if I want to test the female version in this world, I have to change to a female uh, in regular Decentraland. So I open up my items, and there's my jacket. I'm going to equip that. See also the owl mask that I made last time. Takes a second when it first loads in. And there we go. We have the Tron jacket with the slightly bluish. Oh, I don't see the. Oh, I forgot to select the disc. So that's one good thing. Actually, it's a good thing I noticed that. That's a good problem because I have to show you one more thing and then we'll be done. But so this is the whole point of testing. Make sure everything's in there properly. Make sure there's anything I want to change. I might change part of the design a little bit, improve it, make it a little bit nicer. But let's go fix that really quick. So in here, I forgot to select that, but also like I don't want to have a disk and the base mesh separate. I want them to be together. So I'm going to select the upper body mesh and the disk, and I'm going to hit Command J to join them. And now it's all one called disk. And now I'll do the export again. File, export, GLB. I'm going to save it exactly to the same file, overwrite it completely. When this is red, you can tell it's overwriting a file. So if you don't want to, make sure you are aware. Also, take note here, it says export GLTF. If you import a GLTF, it'll say import. You want to make sure you clicked export and not import, and vice versa, because that's how you really lose hard work you've done. But so that's good to go. Now I can go back to the builder, and let's go in the editor. And up here in the editor, I can just replace the male. One thing that's going to happen is by replacing the male here, it's going to, I believe, remove the female. So I'll have to add that again. And now we have the disc. And we have one material, two textures. If I hadn't joined the disc and the shirt, we might have had two materials and two textures, which still falls under, but it's better to minimize everything the best that you can. And you also see the triangles went up because the disk to 808. So we're still good on all fronts, and we have that now. And so now at this point, I would go in here, see the female is gone. Let's add back the female. Boom. This will be added as a female, add female representation. It's automatic, which is great. Don't need to select it. Go back in here, preview an editor. I already know that I'm happy with the emissions, so I don't need to load up the testnet, and I tested the female, so I already know that works. And I've already shown you how to do that, but I can see here just in this basic test window, both genders, both numbers, and then I'll fill out everything appropriately, and then come back here and publish the collection, enter everything we need here. I'm not going to name it this, but just for demonstration, go through this process. Just confirming this is the item I want to publish. Check all the check boxes. Sign your life away. and sign up for the newsletter. And then you have to pay. And I'm not going to click that right now because I still want to fix some stuff. But when you click pay, it opens the forum for the wearable committee and you're able to submit your wearable and hopefully get it approved on your first try, which in this case should work for these because I did it properly. But yeah, that is round 2 of making a wearable. Um, like I said, I would like to get hopefully maybe Dr. Drip involved in baking. I'm not a baking expert. I know how to do it a little bit. He's amazing at baking. So maybe we can get him in on it next time. If anybody has any questions, please let me know now or forever hold your peace. I'll answer whatever I can solve for you. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, to get this wearable, make sure you give Kazenokai your wallet address. He'll have maybe a questionnaire and submit your wallet address, and everyone who attended will get the wearable that's dropped. Kaze,
Amazing.
did you notice any questions that I can answer now, or?
I think we had only one from Kairos on how much weight paint should be applied to the body part, back body part. It,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I maybe talked about that a little briefly. Um, I've seen some wearables. Let me hide the bone. Or I guess we need to see the bones a little bit. I've seen some wearables not go all red on certain parts. When you don't go all red, you get like flexibility, which is nice. And like those of you that know me know that I've spent a lot of time weight painting butts, and I've spent like way too long time weight painting butts, and that's because like I'm really trying to get the flex perfect. So there really is an art to like how to weight paint something perfectly. What I find is like if I were to just weight paint this arm right now, I would just literally hit that with red and let it taper off to where I want the thing to really be completely locked into that bone. I notice in the spine, for example, like if I was on spine is the bottom one here. See how that's yellow. It's not red. So there's flexibility. Spine 1, spine 2, they all overlap. So there's a little bit of flexibility. Yellow is actually pretty hot. That might be like zero point 0.9, that might be 90%, but it's not red. But in my experience, I tend to go red and I just hit that red. And then I have the taper off. And then spine 1, I'll hit that red, and spine 2 might just be like right there. But it becomes sort of like the creator's taste, right? But after like many hours trial and error, go test it out in world, do a bunch of emotes. um I found what works for me, what I like to use, and I tend to go red a lot. I tend to go to the extremes of red and blue a lot with sudden sudden shifts in color between bones. So it's just a matter of taste, honestly. But like I said in the tutorial, the hips, that needs to be red so that you don't get any issues. Any other
awesome.
questions?
If
Should
anyone
I?
has any other questions, just let us know in the chat. Thanks a lot, Roustan, for the time and the effort on the second workshop. I'll
Yeah,
definitely reach out to Dr. Drip if he's willing to maybe have like a joint workshop in May or something. We
yeah,
also plan to have another one specifically for the prom event that we'll be having in May. So most likely we'll have two wearables workshops in May, and we'll start mixing up the workshops with some scene creation as well, both community and foundation led. So stay tuned for the information on that one. Fill the form to get the wearable and to give us feedback on the session in case you want to see anything for the next time. We spoke earlier before with Rostan that we have an idea for the next one to be more like Q&A, so a bit of a like discussion, problem solving type of thing. So that's kind of like the direction we are going for the next session. And also just one last reminder from my side that next week we have the all hands, so make sure to join that one if you have the time. And yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. If you missed the form, send me a message so we can mint the wearable. And if anyone has any last comments or questions, let us know.
Yeah, I want to add to what you said before we started doing these workshops. We found in CBD, the CBD voice channel. Uh, I've been able to pop in from time to time and help people troubleshoot some issues they're having creating wearables and emotes and builds and whatever. And I think it's really powerful to create in real time. So it would be cool to potentially have a future workshop where I don't make anything. I'm just here to help you solve what issues you are currently having with your wearables. But of course, that would require someone to have an issue with something they're trying to make. So, like, if that's something you guys would like to see, at least for now, if not in these workshops, I could always pop in to CPD voice channel and help you guys out whenever I'm available. Happy to do that. Most of the problems are not difficult. A lot of the biggest issues I think are solved in in today's workshop and the last workshop, and so I really hope that helps you guys sort of figure out what you need to do to make your thing a reality. Thank you for attending. Hope that's helpful.
Thanks a lot. I don't think we have any other questions. So thanks once again, Roustan, for the time and the effort. Thanks everyone for joining, and I wish you an amazing day, depending on your time zone, that is. And I'll see you next week.